Welcome, everybody, to the brand new and improved TearofGrace experience. Directed, written, and produced by, and also starring me.
Oh, how I wish I had a Souls-like to play.
Or at least a preview of one.
Silent Noir. It's a dark soul.
Mortal Shell, a game where you play as an egregious seaman demon with the ability to harden at will.
Move over, Viagra. The left trigger's got the monopoly on erections now.
In this immediately soggy world, you find yourself waking with morning wooden. You'll be introduced to the various mechanics this game has to offer you. Moving around, dodging repressed memories, running away from collective debt, and the previously aforementioned and also the best of all, Erectimus Blockimus. Thanks to the developers hurling hard drugs into their nostrils, this game provides you the opportunity to, at will, harden your entire body at any point during any attack. Yes, even the jumping one. To block incoming damage and set yourself up to immediately slap them back when you go all soft and limp like your two favorite letters were ED. There's even an item you can consume that makes it so when you pull this off, you even regain a chunk of health. However, as this is following true Souls-like rules, this tutorial is here to set the tone. So once you're done floundering around with the controls, you're immediately greeted by Nastiest Bastardus as he smashes you, like you should, the like button. So after you've been swiftly sodomized, you're hurled into the real world, only to find you now have less health than Tom Hanks in Philadelphia. But worry not, because thanks to the overflowing libido of the demon seaman, you won't have to worry about your lifespan being shorter than a field mouse inside a combine harvester for too long. But first...
Hi, my name's Bill Shutt, and have you taken a tumble? Well then, boy, do I have a totally legitimate insurance scheme for you. We here at the Manure Dump team cover you from things like spontaneous genital decompression, rapid prolapsing, and we even cover your yet-to-be-harvested vital organs. And...
help me!
in the event of your unfortunate yet contractually obligated and premeditated murder, we even cover you from anal entry to and complete and utter control of your corpse.
So now you've successfully stolen someone else's flesh, you get to safely explore the world in front of you. So first things first, murder the deflated swamp dwellers in front of you, tickle their glitter, steal their loot, and plug your ears. After you've performed your rendition of Simon and Garfunkel, you get to be introduced to roided up Pinocchio who's allergic to the truth. Hello! And seeing as this is the second enemy in the game, my expectations weren't for it to take a dozen consecutive shots to the tits and bits, leap further than Link in a speedrun, and somehow have better bloody tracking than a GPS device located roughly in the rectum. But with your trusty parry mechanic that you didn't quite get the hang of in the tutorial, and the right motivation to get good at it thanks to Tanky Hanky and his need for spankies, you should make sure work of him. Though now does seem a good time to explain those 4 little bars above your health, so you have a good idea of why your parry might have only bounced him back a bit. These lovely little glowing things are your resolve, which is essentially your resource to cash in on borderline overpowered abilities. You generate resolve by just bapping the crap out of enemies' mouths, and once a bar is built up, it's safely saved for whenever you need it. Unless you die! Though if you can't get it all the way up, assuming you don't get back to the brain battering soon enough, it'll slowly drain back down to an empty bar. So, the abilities. I'll start with the super attacks first, because I never bloody use them. For 2 bars, you can use a much stronger attack with a unique animation. Each weapon has one, and later weapons seemingly need an item to be found and slotted into them to unlock it. The other lovely use, however, is the empowered riposte, because assuming you parry successfully without resolve, you'll find yourself just kindly allowing the enemy to regain its posture while you longingly stare into their eyes. Parry with resolve, though, and you'll be afforded the luxury of immediately following up with an attack that not only deals massive damage, not only typically knocks them down in their asses assuming they survive, but it also heals you for a pretty hefty sum. So in short, get good at this mechanic, or you're gonna get got. Anyway, seeing as Panzer Hank is only enemy number 2, you'll likely only manage to best the boy after being battered out of your freshly burglarized body more times than you thought ectoplasmically possible. Oh, and did I mention that the first time your health is drained quicker than Ron Jeremy's balls in a Pornhub production, you get not so comfortably ejected out of your shell as all enemies around you harden, giving you an opportunity to sprint back inside it to regain your health and stats. Kind of like Sekiro's second chance mechanic, only if it were made for Takeshi's castle.
Come on, mate, up you get, you can do it! Oh, nearly!
With Hanky now sufficiently spanked, you're left with three options. Assuming you didn't go down this hidden path to fight a mini-boss, which is essentially just a tankier version of an enemy we'll soon see up ahead. Go left and be greeted by a campsite of gobshites. Head right for the funniest crossbow hits you'll ever see or hear in games. Or straight ahead, where you can now fight two tanky hankies at the same time.
Hey, I don't know if you've noticed, this game isn't exactly going easy on you.
So assuming you didn't suck like I did, left will net you some loot, and further down, a rotund and welcoming merchant to barter with.
Got some rare things.
He may sound like an ever so slightly more articulate Jabba the Hutt trying to seduce you out of your shell,
Shall we engage in some rousing commerce?
but he's not just charming, as he offers some pretty useful upgrade materials.
We'll get to that.
And for a while, I thought this guy purred like a cat, until I realized I somehow missed the actual cat sitting right in front of me. Like, no, literally, it was right. It was right there. So the immortal question of can you pet the cat came to mind, and not only do you pet it, you get a dedicated mini cutscene to petting the chonky thing too. So with Mr. Moobs met and his cat pet, you can now either take the path to the right, which is just a loop-de-loop of enemies with some minor items, or just go straight ahead and progress onwards.
Hey, you. Finally awake.
Oh my god, have I stared at the sun too long, or is this game rendered in the crippled cornea engine? So now you've maxed out your brightness slider and turned off all your lights in your room, you'll be greeted with a Sister Janessa. Sister Janessa, who has a cheeky nod to the subgenre of the game we find ourselves in.
There won't be any merriment around the bonfire here.
She'll be your go-to level-up NPC, letting you reveal the names of the corpses that you've commandeered, even unlocking some repressed memories hidden inside the frontal lobe you get to poke around with. That's not at all brain rapey at all, is it? While also letting you unlock various buffs and perks for them too, though this still being a preview, the majority are as locked as my knees after a rough shit. A little past Sister Genesis, and you'll not only find a new body debugger, but an area that houses all of your required cadavers too. Not only that, but a new weapon. A much faster, and thus for me, much better one. At least that's what Mr. First Playthrough thought. Never mind that shit, the Claymore is my boy. And even an anvil to upgrade your weapons too. And seeing as aged up fat bastard was selling that particular teapot of acid, my weapon now does more damage. But don't get too excited. Enemies that took 3 hits to die still take 3 hits to die. Though that supposed joy will be short-lived, as just around the corner there's a couple of heart-shagging sugar daddies waiting to pounce on you and make you their coitus oyster. And this also might be the first time you'll fully notice your Pariank light up bright red. That is, of course, assuming you're anything like me and you ignored the initial tutorial pop-up. You read it, but you didn't really read it. When one of these foul little headhumpers gets a little bit too close and gives it the Jimmy Biggins,
Come in twos. We'll come in twos.
Fuck off a minute.
your butt bauble will flare up, warning you of an incoming unparryable attack. Oh, and it actually does warn you ahead of time. It isn't one of those blink and you miss it, only to be mounted and cum stuffed quicker than Thanksgiving meal prep.
Which isn't really that quick.
However, in a fitting twist of fate, you can easily counter said pouncing sex pest by getting a full body hard on yourself, making them incapable of chewing out a chunk of your lovely dead neck. Though if you're anything like me, that thought won't even cross your mind, you'll be too busy panicking that there's 2 of them and then the camera is trying to forcefully seduce the wall! But assuming you didn't succumb to their one on the tongue and one in the bum technique, you'll soon bump into a sheath for 1,000 swords. And no, that's not some medieval phrase to shame sex workers, because I was talking about the walking armory over there. Not only will he see fit to hurl blade after blade at you, even pull 2 out at once at a rage to fight you off, but should you batter this beast well enough, he'll rage quit his own life and tear his fucking head off and lob that at you too. And now seems like a good time to mention these mushrooms dotted around the place, as you'll likely be needing them now more than ever. Welt caps. They'll be your go-to band-aid healing item like life gems in Dark Souls 2, as they slowly regenerate a reasonable amount of your health over a slightly less than reasonable amount of time. And not only that, these little things also regenerate over time in the world, so you can come back to harvest these things when you're feeling less than confident, assuming you've taken long enough. And on top of that, most items in this game awaken a state of item description amnesia, promoting the usual game philosophy of find a thing and stick it in your head to find out what it does, which can result in mild cases of dysphoric hallucination. I probably shouldn't eat those colorful games. I'm not sure what's going on. Who turned on chromatic aberration? Where are my toes? And not only can you end up unintentionally poisoning yourself, but each and every time you use an item, you gain familiarity with it. Like a pen pal or some shit. Some items, when maxed out, completely alter their use. I'm immune to that shit now! Some just let you shred out fat beats, while others do nothing at all.
Fucking bullshit!
Oh, and if you thought this game was done, throwing new enemies at you every 5 seconds, each one more terrifying than the last, then you'd be about as wrong as everyone telling you to ignore Bitcoin 5 years ago. Because this spike-limbed nightmare creature is waiting for you in both paths you get to choose from next. And is he challenging? Is he a pain in the arse? Does he have a move that when it bonks you out of your booty will freeze and perfectly place right over it, so the moment you think that you're safe to climb back in it, you die? Yes, yes! Oh god, fuck me harder, Steve, yes! To all of the above. I'll be honest, I rage quit right there. I was on a roll, carving through everything, feeling competent for once, only for this red-eyed mole-rat dick-armed prick face to ruin my smile. But when I finally picked myself up off of the floor that's covered with cat fur because owning those creatures is a joy.
Having 11 cats was a mistake!
Not only did I discover this precarious ledge with a man hanging on the edge, which I didn't know was an edge until I fell off. Not only did I return only to be drop-kicked down back to my doom by this corner-camping, ganking bastard, I actually ended up falling back in love with the original shell and weapon, while also realizing something I could use to my advantage in this game. Not actually during any of those falls. I realized it while thinking about anything other than my failure to try and numb the pain. You see, when you reacquire your shell, whether or not it's your second life one, it heals you to full. So if you've died near a tough enemy, you have an instant health refill just sitting there right next to it. And that's on top of the built-in second life you're gonna get when you're knocked out of your shell the first time. And the parry healing you can regen as long as you get good, and whatever other healing items you've hoarded by now. Or even if this game takes a little while to click for you. God knows it did for me. It's always giving you that little extra chance of winning each time you hit a brick wall of difficulty. Though as it turned out, I didn't need to do any of that shit, as I performed the age-old mantra of the Souls-like, and I got good. Apparently, contrary to their bloody monstrous and nightmarish appearances, all it takes for most enemies to get completely castrated is one well-timed parry. Because even if that hit doesn't do the deal all on its own, most enemies end up splattered on the ground for another second or two after, so you can just wham-bam and thank you ma'am the crap out of them until they do die. Oh, and also, after that guy, I saw this room with that dude in a big arena, which meant it was a boss room, so my initial reaction to that went roughly something like this. No. And in that direction in which I swiftly fled, I found myself fighting Needle Dick Arms number 2, which allowed me to discover this butt-plug bludgeoning combo. But worry not, because another get good happened, and I deflected his dicks down into a dank dirty ditch, which led me to this chest with another neti pot of the burning water. Which means even more damage.
Now that's a lot of damage!
But unfortunately, that's all there was over there, leaving me with no other option than to drag my illegally acquired feet all the way back to the boss room. It's obviously a boss room.
What are you doing?
So now you're stuck inside Mr. Freeze's wet dream with Isaac Clarke if the marker infected him too, you'll have to discover the wondrous fact that in this game, you can actually parry bosses. And with your lovely labelled dump plum shining brightly, you'll never have to guess which attacks can be parried either. Don't worry though, because Isaac isn't going to make this too easy for you. Because even if you're somehow immediately accepting of his giant sweeps and leaps, once you get his health low enough, the ceiling starts defecating in your direction as well. So with a handful of parries, a basket of panicked dodges, and just few enough mistakes to not get smushed by the almighty smasher, you'll have conked off the cool and not so calculated crescendo to this demo. Oh. That's not even the saddest part. If only I'd thought to stop, drop, and rock and roll with my loot, we might have been able to come to a peaceful ending, seeing as Todd Grisham is clearly a metalhead. So what do I actually think of this game, rod-on jokes aside? Well, in my first play session of Mortal Shell, I was abysmal at absolutely everything, because I was going in with the expectation of it being a Souls-like. And sure, while it may obviously be similar in a lot of foundational ways, and, you know, share a control scheme as well, the way the combat actually plays out is significantly different. While I was originally neglecting the hardening mechanic, just R1 spamming, what I should have been doing, if I'm gonna play like a brain-dead imbecile, is R1 spam and be ready to harden right as they're about to try and knock me out of it, so then they're staggered, allowing me to continue to mindlessly spam them into submission. The harden whenever you want thing really complements any playstyle. You can use it strategically, if you're one of those big brainers, or as a get-out-of-jail-free reactionary thing, like me, because I'm a big dum-dum. Once I started playing this game as its own game, without the predisposition of it just being another Souls-like, I really started to fall in love with it. Everything from shoving all the loot in my face to see what it did and maybe unlock something, to trying to overcome each and every enemy the preview had to offer. So while this is obviously only a slice of what the full game will have to offer, I honestly can confidently say I can't wait to play more. It's a game that's successfully managed to not just be another Souls-like in tone and control, but instead something with its own distinctive combat and identity. And while we don't know when it'll fully release yet, seriously, please give me a date. I feel like there's no games coming out I'm looking forward to. Anyone have got Halo Infinite, I don't even know what's gonna goddamn be! What I do know is, whenever it does, I'll be eagerly awaiting for this game to fully come out of its shell. Alright, what? That's 2 for 2. You stream it, it breaks. There he is! Oh, his nose is huge!
That was a good shot. I hope it was anyway. I'm not doing that again.